Hold up your badge so they'll know you're a policeman.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of RT Essentials. I'm Perry Nemiroff. On today's show, we're taking you all the way down the street to Hollywood. That's right, these are our favorite movies that are centered around, feature, or are directly about the art or business of making movies here in Hollywood. This list spans from the 1950s all the way up to today and includes people who like to sing in the rain, a few Tinseltown-related murders, and of course, Nicolas Cage. So hop on our double-decker tour bus, yes, that is a thing around here, and let's go on a virtual ride through the best movies about Hollywood. And action. Adaptation.
There's a bump. I'm starting to sweat. Stop sweating. I've got to stop sweating. Can she see it dripping down my forehead? Oh, she looked at my hairline. She thinks I'm bald.
We think you're great.
Oh, wow. Thanks. That's nice to hear.
Kicking off this list is 2002's Adaptation. This film was directed by Spike Jonze, who had previously helmed another Hollywood-y type picture in 1999's Being John Malkovich. This one stars Nicolas Cage as real-life LA screenwriter Charlie Kaufman, who runs into writer's block as he tries to adapt the Susan Orlean novel The Orchard Thief. As his life becomes more intertwined with Orlean's book, with Meryl Streep playing the author, things go from pathetic to very bizarre for Charlie. The film was written by the real Charlie Kaufman, who based the script on his struggles to adapt the same book while suffering from writer's block. However, many story elements and characters are exaggerated or completely made up, including the presence of a twin brother, Donald, also played by Nick Cage.
Here you go. The killer's a literature professor. He cuts off little chunks from his victims' bodies until they die. He calls himself the deconstructionist. That's kind of good. I like that. See, I was kidding, Donald. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Speaking of Charlie, it was actually Tom Hanks who was originally close to playing the role before Cage ended up getting it, and Cage took a $5 million salary, which is a bit on the low side, and also wore a fat suit during filming. Meanwhile, Streep was reportedly very interested in the role of Susan Orlean and also took a salary cut to help with the film's budget. When it comes to John LaRoche, the actual Orchid Thief, Joaquin Phoenix auditioned and John Turturro was approached for the role, which eventually went to Chris Cooper. And what did he do with it? He won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, that's what he did. Adaptation picked up a ton of awards on the festival circuit, and along with Cooper's win, it was also nominated for 3 other Oscars, including Cage's 2nd, Streep's 13th, and one, ironically, for Best Adapted Screenplay. Sunset Boulevard.
You see, the body of a young man was found floating in the pool of her mansion, with 2 shots in his back and 1 in his stomach. Nobody important, really. Just a movie writer with a couple of B pictures to his credit. The poor dope. He always wanted a pool.
Cruising with the top down to the next spot on this list is 1950's Sunset Boulevard. Directed and co-written by the Oscar-winning Billy Wilder, this film stars William Holden as Joe Gillis, a struggling screenwriter, and Gloria Swanson as Norma Desmond, an aging silent film queen who refuses to accept that her stardom has ended. Norma hires Joe to help with her comeback, but they soon develop a dangerous relationship that becomes one of madness and violence. The film was named after a major street that runs through Hollywood, and I very much suggest staying off of it during rush hour, which has been associated with the film industry since 1911 when the town's first film studio, Nestor, opened there.
Let's get a good look at you.
Look, there's Norma Desmond.
Norma Desmond. Norma Desmond.
Why, I thought she was dead.
How nice to see you.
Welcome home, mister. You remember me, don't you?
Desmond.
Hello.
For filming, Wilder used authentic locations like a mansion on Sunset, and for Joe's apartment, a real apartment block in central Hollywood that was often populated by struggling writers. The character of Norma resembled a number of real-life silent film stars who had faded out. Wilder wanted Mae West for the role to star alongside Marlon Brando, but neither of them were interested. The part eventually went to Swanson, one of the most celebrated silent-era actresses who, unlike her character, made a smooth transition to the talkies, although she hadn't appeared in a film in nearly a decade at that point. Sunset Boulevard is often ranked amongst the greatest movies of all time and earned 11 Oscar nominations, including all 4 acting categories, and it won 3 for Best Writing, Best Art Direction, and Best Music. And the critics' consensus calls this one arguably the greatest movie about Hollywood. Boom, mic drop. Mulholland Drive.
I'm sorry. That was a highly recommended. That is considered one of the finest espressos in the world.
What is going on here? There is no way that girl is in my movie.
Pulling into the next spot on this list is 2001's Mulholland Drive. This psychological thriller was written and directed by David Lynch of Twin Peaks fame, of course, and is set in a dreamlike Los Angeles, aka there's no traffic or smog. It centers around Laura Harring's Rita, who, after a car accident on the windy Mulholland Drive, develops amnesia. She's taken in by a perky Hollywood hopeful named Betty, played by Naomi Watts, and together they try and search for Rita's true identity. The movie also follows other vignettes and characters, including a young Hollywood film director played by Justin Theroux, who's facing major problems in both his personal and his professional life. The film's title is a reference to iconic Hollywood culture. Lynch lives near the actual Mulholland Drive and has said he could feel the history of Hollywood in that road.
I'm sorry it happens sometimes.
No.
Come on.
No, she said it was someone else who was in trouble.
Stop it, Louise. I'm taking you home. Come on. Good night, Betty.
Good night. Good night.
Mulholland Drive was originally conceived as a TV pilot, and when it was shot on location in Los Angeles in the fall of 1999, Lynch left it open-ended. It wasn't until TV execs passed on that he went back and added an ending and made it a feature film. Along with being named after a real Hollywood road, the film also references a real Hollywood road rage incident where Theroux's character smashes a windshield with a golf club, just like Jack Nicholson did infamously in 1994. Lynch was nominated for a Best Director Oscar for his work on the film, which has also been credited as boosting the profile of Naomi Watts. Singing in the Rain.
Just because you're a big movie star, wild party, swimming pools, you expect every girl to fall in a dead faint at your feet. Well, don't you touch me.
Fear not, sweet lady. I will not molest you. I am but a humble jester, and you are too far above me. Farewell, Ethel Barrymore. I must tear myself from your side.
Making a splash as the next film on this list is 1952's Singin' in the Rain. This classic was directed and choreographed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen, and also stars Kelly alongside Donald O'Connor, Debbie Reynolds, and Gene Hagen. The film gives a lighthearted depiction of the turmoil that the movie industry went through in the late 1920s, making the transition from silent to sound, and also covers the performers who were caught in the middle of all of it. The idea for Singing in the Rain was based on a back catalog of songs that already existed. Writers Betty Comden and Adolph Green were brought in to build a story and a script around them, and since most of the songs were written during the time when silent films were fading out, that's where the story was set.
Okay, again. Quiet! Roll 'em!
Shouldn't have flirting with Dave. They will surely find you out.
Cut! Lena, we're missing every other word. You've got to talk into the mic.
Well, I can't make love to a bush.
Singin' in the Rain wasn't a huge hit initially, but has since been given legend status by contemporary critics who often consider it one of the best films ever made, which is why it's so cool that Debbie Reynolds acquired most of the costumes from the movie for her massive collection of Hollywood memorabilia, most of which was sold at auction in 2011. The film was nominated for an Oscar for Best Score, with Jean Hagen also getting a nom for Best Supporting Actress. Donald O'Connor picked up a Golden Globe for his performance, while Comden and Green won the Writers Guild Award for their screenplay. And top critic Ben Flanagan from Little White Lies called this one effervescent, life-affirming cinema, an antidote to any ailment, illness, or woes about the state of Hollywood. La La Land.
And you're gonna play the set list.
Happy to. Even though I don't think anyone cares what I play, but yeah.
Well, if by anyone you mean anyone other than me, that would be correct. I care, and I don't want to hear the free jazz.
Right. Okay. Although I thought in this town it worked on a sort of one for you, one for me type system. How about two for you, one for me? How about all for you and none for me?
That's perfect, yes.
Great.
Okay.
Next on our list of the best movies about Hollywood is 2016's La La Land. This film was written and directed by Damien Chazelle and stars Ryan Gosling as Sebastian, a struggling jazz pianist, and Emma Stone as Mia, an aspiring actress. The two central characters meet in Los Angeles and are drawn together by their common desire to do what they love, but they're eventually faced with difficult decisions about their relationships as success continues to mount. Chazelle wrote the screenplay after moving to Los Angeles in 2010 as a salute to creative people who chase their dreams in LA. The idea was to ground the classic musical in real life where things don't always work out, but he couldn't find a studio willing to finance the production until after the success of his 2014 film Whiplash. Miles Teller and Emma Watson were originally slated to star in this one, but they both dropped out to pave the way for Gosling and Stone.
Maybe I'm one of those people that has always wanted to do it, but it's like a pipe dream for me, you know, and then you set it, you change your dreams and then you grow up. Maybe I'm one of those people and I'm not supposed to, and I can go back to school and I can find something else that I'm supposed to do, because I left to do that, and it's been 6 years, and I don't want to do it anymore.
Ironically, Watson reportedly turned down the role of Mia to appear in Beauty and the Beast, while Ryan Gosling turned down the role of the Beast in that film to appear in this one. You gotta love Hollywood. Filming took place in August and September of 2015 in more than 60 locations, both in and around Los Angeles. That includes Angel's Flight Trolley downtown, houses in the Hollywood Hills, the Warner Brothers lot, and right smack dab in the middle of the 105 freeway, which I'm sure caused zero traffic issues. La La Land grossed $448 million at the worldwide box office and was nominated for 14 Academy Awards and won 6, including Best Actress for Stone and Best Director for Chazelle, making him the youngest winner in this category at the time at just 32 years old. Top critic K. Austin Collins from The Ringer said, "As an attempt to pay homage to a vanishing world, La La Land is as dutiful as it is endearing." Ed Wood.
When is your next picture coming out?
I have no next picture.
You gotta be joking. A great star like you must have dozens of them lined up.
Back in the old days, yes. Now no one gives two for a bailer.
But you're a big star.
No more. I haven't worked in 40 years. This business, this town, it chews you up, then spits you out. I'm just an ex-boogeyman.
Next up is the biographical dramedy from 1994, Ed Wood. This film was directed and produced by Tim Burton and stars Johnny Depp as cult filmmaker Ed Wood, focusing on the period in Wood's life when he made his most well-known movies. In the film, Wood has become a Hollywood outcast due to his eccentric habits and odd productions, but with the help of the formerly famous Bela Lugosi, played here by Martin Landau, and a devoted cast and crew, they managed to produce a strangely endearing batch of low-budget movies. The idea for Ed Wood came from writers Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski, who were looking to avoid being only known for family films after doing 1990's Problem Child and its sequel.
Georgie, what happened? I thought Glenda was opening this week. Where's the ads?
Where's the ads? The ads are in Alabama, Indiana, Missouri. You schmuck. It ain't gonna play in L.A.
Why not?
Nobody wants to see this piece of
Hey, you can't talk that way about my movie.
Your movie? I wish it was your movie. I wish I hadn't blown every dime I ever made into making this stink bomb. And if I ever see you again, I'll kill you.
Hello? Georgie?
It wasn't until original director Michael Lehman had scheduling issues with the movie Airheads that Tim Burton stepped into the job, and while Burton originally developed the film for Columbia Pictures, they lost interest after the director insisted on shooting the film in black and white, opening the door for Disney's Touchstone Pictures. Filming lasted 72 days in the late summer and early fall of 1993 at various locations around Hollywood, and while the black and white look may have contributed to a poor box office performance for Ed Wood, fans and critics alike loved it. The film won 2 Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actor for Martin Landau and Best Makeup, and has since worked its way up to cult classic status. LA Confidential.
Which is not my favorite perfume, not by a long shot. Sometimes as we watched, she'd clutch my arm or my hand, forgetting she was my employer. Just becoming a fan, excited about that actress up there on the screen.
Keeping things tightly sealed as the next spot on this list is 1997's LA Confidential. This neo-noir crime drama was directed, produced, and co-written by Curtis Hanson and is based on James Ellroy's novel of the same name. It tells the story of a group of LAPD officers in 1953 exploring the intersection of police corruption and Hollywood celebrity as they all tackle an unsolved murder at a downtown coffee shop. Director Hanson and screenwriter Brian Helgeland worked on the script together for 2 years, with Hanson turning down several jobs in that period of time. The project was pitched to television twice and even had a pilot produced starring Kiefer Sutherland, but it was never picked up. When casting started for the film version, the role of Bud White was offered to Michael Madsen before eventually going to Russell Crowe, who actually turned it down first because he didn't believe he could pull off such a tough character.
How's it gonna look in your report? It'll look like justice. That's what the man got. Justice.
You don't know the meaning of the word, you ignorant bastard.
Yeah? Well, you think it means getting your picture in the paper. Why don't you go after criminals for a change instead of cops?
Stensland got what he deserved, and so will you.
Crowe, of course, did take the role and would ultimately go on to base his performance on that of Sterling Hayden from Stanley Kubrick's movie The Killing. LA Confidential was shot at 45 different locations around Los Angeles, including several famous Hollywood landmarks appropriate to the 1950s, like the Formosa Cafe in West Hollywood, the Frolic Room on Hollywood Boulevard, and an outdoor shopping mall called the Crossroads of the World. The film ended up being a big hit with fans and critics. Along with a strong performance at the box office, it was also nominated for 9 Oscars, including Best Picture, and it won 2 for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Supporting Actress for Kim Basinger's work in the film. Plus, it was voted the best film set in Los Angeles in the last 25 years by a group of Los Angeles Times writers and editors in 2008, which really is the kind of acknowledgement that fits nicely into this list right here. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Put her there. Oh.
That was it.
Really?
That was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. Hey, and your idea about throwing the little girl on the ground, that just worked like a charm.
Yeah, I figured you said Shakespeare.
Yeah, well, that's right. That was, and that's what I mean by scare me.
Yeah.
Evil Hamlet scares people.
All right.
Telling a Tale as the next spot on this list is 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The film was written and directed by Quentin Tarantino and is set in 1969 Los Angeles, using multiple storylines to pay tribute to the final moments of Hollywood's golden age. Leonardo DiCaprio stars as aging actor Rick Dalton, who gained fame and fortune from a 1950s TV Western, but is now struggling to find meaningful work in Hollywood. And Dalton, who spends most of his time hanging out with his longtime stunt double Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt, just so happens to live next door to filmmaker Roman Polanski and actress Sharon Tate. Margot Robbie, who plays Tate in the film, actually wore some of the late actress's real jewelry, which was provided by Tate's sister.
Ladies. Come one step closer and I will knock his teeth out.
And along with Polanski and Tate, other historical characters featured in the movie include Steve McQueen, Bruce Lee, Mama Cass, and also members of the Manson family. Tarantino was first inspired to make this one years earlier while filming Death Proof with Kurt Russell, who had been working with the same stunt double for years. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was shot in and around Los Angeles from June to November in 2018, and Tarantino kept the only copy of the third act of the screenplay in a safe during that time to prevent it from being prematurely leaked, which in this business is a very smart move. The film received 10 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, with Brad Pitt winning for Best Supporting Actor, and top critic Wendy Ide from The Observer UK said, "This is a film set in a stunningly evoked Hollywood past. It can also be read as a commentary on Hollywood present." Hail Caesar.
What, you think if there wasn't a good, reliable man, I wouldn't have grabbed him?
What about Arn Cecilman? He is the father, isn't he?
Yeah.
A marriage doesn't have to last forever, but Deanna, having a child without a father would present a public relations problem for the studio. The Aquatic Pictures do very nicely for us.
So you go and strap on a fish and marry Arnie Cecilman.
Calling for the next spot on this list is 2016's Hail Caesar. This film was written, produced, edited, and directed by the brothers Joel and Ethan Coen and tells a fictional story about real-life Hollywood fixer Eddie Mannix in the 1950s. In it, Josh Brolin's Mannix is faced with his biggest challenge yet after actor Baird Whitlock, played by George Clooney, gets kidnapped during the filming of an epic called Hail Caesar and is held for $100,000 ransom. The movie takes place at a transitional time for the film industry as the studio system was breaking down and TV was threatening to take away audiences. The fictional studio scene in the movie, Capitol Pictures, previously appeared in another period film from the Coens, 1991's Barton Fink. Speaking of the Coens, they first began discussing this idea back in 2004. They pitched the idea to Clooney in 2008, but he wasn't initially excited about playing another numbskull character after films like Intolerable Cruelty. But the project ultimately came together and filming took place in the fall of 2014 in Los Angeles.
So, now, do I get a share of the ransom?
No, Mr. Whitlock, you could hardly share in your own ransom. That would be unethical.
I don't know, it doesn't seem fair, fellas. I mean, the whole setup only works if I play along, right? If I don't let on that I know who kidnapped me.
Yes, that's right.
Who have I named names? If I tell the truth.
Location manager John Panzarella, who also worked on 1997's LA Confidential, noted that period locations were disappearing fast, so they ended up mostly using the Warner Brothers studio, which had retained many of its vintage buildings. The Los Angeles Times reported that the Coen brothers' decision to film in Los Angeles increased filming activity in the city, which had previously been down. Hail Caesar went on to receive an Academy Award nomination for Best Production Design, but lost to another film on this list, La La Land. The critics' consensus for this one says that packed with period detail and perfectly cast, Hail Caesar finds the Coen brothers delivering an agreeably lightweight love letter to post-war Hollywood. The Artist. And the final installment on this list is 2011's The Artist. This dramedy was directed by Michel Hazanavicius and was done in the style of a black and white silent film, or part talkie, taking place in Hollywood between 1927 and 1932. The film focuses on the relationship between a rising young actress and an older silent film star as silent cinema is fading out of relevance. A potential love affair between the two becomes more and more complicated, with her star rising along with the popularity of sound in movies. The Artist was shot over the course of 35 days in the fall of 2010, taking place primarily in Hollywood, along with some downtown theaters, restaurants, and houses. It was actually filmed in color and later converted to black and white, with all the technical details like lenses, lighting, and camera settings being calibrated to match the aesthetics of silent films of the period. For instance, because zoom technology didn't exist at the time, there isn't a single zoom shot in this entire movie. Well, whatever they did, it worked, with the critics' consensus calling this one a crowd-pleasing tribute to the magic of silent cinema. The artist was nominated for 10 Oscars and won 5 of them, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor for Jean Dujardin, making him the first French actor ever to win in this category. This was also the first French-produced film to win Best Picture, and the first mainly silent film to win since 1927's Wings won at the first ever Academy Awards back in 1929. Okay, that's it. Our list of the best movies about Hollywood. If that doesn't make you yearn for the films of yesteryear, then you were totally paying attention, because it seemed like a lot of turmoil back then, right? Anyway, what is your favorite movie about Hollywood? We want you to let us know. And thanks for tuning in to RT Essentials. I'm your host, Perry Nemroff, and I've got room on the roof of my car. If anyone wants that double-decker tour bus experience, I'll give it to you for half the price.